Imagine you have never once in your entire life paid a water bill, not a single one, not in 200 years of your family farming the same land. That is not a hypothetical. That is the situation for old order Amish families across Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and Holmes County, Ohio right now. And what most people assume, that they just have a deep well and a hand pump and leave it at that, turns out to be only part of the story, because there is a layer underneath that, a backup, beneath the backup, a technique they brought over from Europe before the United States even existed. It costs $12 to build. It works every single night. And the part I am going to share at the very end of this video is something I have never seen written down in any homesteading book, any gardening guide, anywhere. It comes from a source that is nearly 400 years old. Stay with me until the end, because if you leave early, you are going to miss the one piece of this that changes everything. I want to tell you about a man named Eli. He is in his 70s and farms about 60 acres outside Millersburg in Holmes County, Ohio. The land has been in his family since 1851. I spent 3 days with his family in the summer of 2019, and on the second morning, I noticed something that did not make sense to me. There had been no rain in 5 days. The creek at the edge of his property was running low, and yet the trough near his barn was full. Not almost full. Full. I asked him where the water was coming from. He looked at me for a second like I had asked him what color the sky was. He pointed up. He said, "The AIR is never empty." He was not speaking philosophically. He meant it literally, and he was right in a way that took me a few days to fully absorb. Here is what most people have been taught to think about water. It comes from the ground, you drill a well, or it comes from the sky, you catch rain in a barrel. Those are your two options. That is the entire mental model, and the Amish use both of those too, but the third, the one that predates both of those systems in certain parts of the world, is the one almost nobody in this country thinks about anymore. It is water that comes from neither the ground nor the sky. It comes from the AIR, not from rain, from air, from moisture that is floating invisibly around you at every single moment of every single day, just waiting to touch something cold enough to let go. That handoff has a name. It is called the DUW point. When moist air contacts a surface that is at or below a specific temperature, the moisture in the air cannot stay suspended. Physics forces it out. It condenses into liquid. It forms a droplet. The droplet finds another droplet, and they merge and grow heavy, and gravity pulls them down. You have seen this your whole life on a cold glass of lemonade in summer, on your windshield, on a cool morning, on a spider web, just after dawn. What the Amish system does, what the $12 setup does, is simply give that process a large surface to happen on. A big surface area, tilted at the right angle, positioned into the wind, set up before sunset. By morning, you have water sitting in a collection trough that did not come from any pipe, any pump, any well, or any rainfall. It came straight out of the AIR while you slept. What you need to build this is almost embarrassingly simple. Shade cloth mesh, 6 feet by 6 feet, the kind you find at any garden center. Look for something with a tight weave, closer to a window screen than an open agricultural mesh. About $5, 4 sections of 1-inch PVC pipe to make a rectangular frame, roughly 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide. $2, maybe less if you have scraps. Zip ties, which you already have somewhere in your garage. A length of plastic gutter for your collection trough, $3 or $4 at any hardware store. A few flat rocks or bricks to prop the frame at an angle. That is everything. $12 all in. No moving parts, no electricity, No ongoing cost after the first build. The frame goes together in minutes. 4 PVC sections form a rectangle with zip ties at the corners. It does not need to be elegant, it just needs to hold its shape in a light breeze. Then you stretch the mesh over the frame and zip tie it every 6 inches around every edge. This part matters. You want drum-tight tension, not a sag. Think of how a tambourine is made, how tight that skin is stretched. You want that same tautness across your entire mesh surface. Why does it matter? Because a sagging mesh traps water in low spots. Trapped water sits still. Still water evaporates before it reaches your trough. Tight mesh means every droplet that forms rolls immediately downward and lands exactly where you want it. Here is the mistake that kills the first attempt for most people. They set the frame flat on the ground like a table. That is the wrong angle. Flat means every droplet pools on top of the mesh, sits there, and is gone before sunrise. You want the frame tilted at 15 to 30 degrees off vertical, leaning slightly back, like you have propped a picture frame against a wall at a shallow angle. That tilt is the whole secret of the collection. Droplets form, they roll downhill along the mesh fibers, they reach the bottom edge, and they drip directly into the gutter you have placed underneath that edge. Gravity is doing all the work for you around the clock without any help. Now, placement. This is where I see people get it wrong even after they build the frame correctly. Face the mesh directly into the prevailing evening breeze. Not sideways, not away from it, but into it. You want air moving through the mesh, not around it. Walk your yard at dusk and feel which way the air is moving. That is the direction your frame should face. Get the frame off the ground by at least 12 inches. Air near ground level is warmer and drier than air slightly above it. Cooler air carries condensation more readily, so a little elevation helps. And place the frame away from wherever the morning sun reaches first. You want several hours of darkness plus the cool pre-dawn window, because that is when your highest collection happens. Morning sunlight warms the mesh, raises it above the dew point, and collection stops. Every minute you protect from early sun is more water in your trough. Set it up before sunset. Come back at dawn. In a night with average conditions, temperatures in the mid-50s, normal humidity, no fog at all, a 6x6 setup will put half a liter to a full liter of water in that trough. That sounds modest until you think about what it took to produce it. Nothing. You did nothing. You went to sleep. In coastal areas, river valleys, low-lying regions where cool air settles overnight, or anywhere that sees morning fog roll in from a nearby body of water, that same setup produces 2 liters or more. Scale your mesh to 10 by 10 feet, and you are producing enough water for a family's daily drinking needs from a structure you built in one afternoon. No bill, no infrastructure, no asking permission from anyone, just physics working for you in the dark. Now, here is something you need to know about drinking atmospheric water, because this is where I hear the most doubt. Atmospheric water starts off remarkably clean. It has never touched soil. It has not run through agricultural fields. It has not passed through old pipes. It skips the entire contamination chain that makes surface water and even some well water complicated. Outside of urban areas near heavy industry or traffic, it is some of the purest source water you can collect. That said, the mesh will pick up dust and particulates over time, and if you want complete peace of mind, a simple filter takes 5 minutes to make. Take a plastic bottle, cut the bottom off, flip it upside down, and layer it from the bottom up with cotton. Then activated charcoal from an aquarium store, then fine sand, then a second layer of cotton at the top. Pour your collection water through from the top. Let it drip through into a clean jar below. That is the filter the most conservative Amish communities use. no manufactured parts, no replacement cartridges. If you want absolute certainty after that, boil it or add 1 drop of plain unscented household bleach per liter and wait 30 minutes. What you have after that is cleaner than municipal tap water in most zip codes in this country. There is something important to understand about why this knowledge nearly disappeared. It is not because it stopped working. The physics behind dew collection is the same today as it was 300 years ago. Moisture-laden air hitting a cool surface at night. That is not going anywhere. What happened is that as municipal water systems spread across America through the early 20th century, the old techniques became unnecessary for most people. The tap worked reliably, affordably, and so the older knowledge, the deeper knowledge, just got set aside. But the communities that never connected to those systems in the first place, communities like the Amish, never had any reason to let it go. They kept the knowledge because they never stopped needing it. And here is what strikes me when I stand in Eli's yard looking at that full trough on a dry morning. The municipal system worked right up until it didn't. The pipe is only reliable as long as the utility is. The Amish system works regardless of what anyone else decides to do. Now I want to tell you about the thing I promised at the beginning. The piece that I have genuinely never seen in any homesteading book, any prepper guide, any YouTube video in this niche. I found the first written record of it in the works of Francis Bacon from the early 1600s. Bacon documented something that North Atlantic sailors had been doing for generations, a technique for collecting fresh water at sea when supplies ran low. The sailors would take a wool fleece and hang it from the ship's rigging over the side, facing the wind just before dark. By morning, they would take it down and wring it out, and they would get fresh water, not salt water, fresh water, condensed from the air overnight into the wool fibers. This is not a curiosity. This is chemistry. Wool is one of the most hygroscopic natural materials on Earth. Its fibers have a microscopic structure that actively draws moisture from humid air and holds it. A dry fleece will absorb up to 30% of its own weight in water vapor before it feels damp to the touch, which means on a humid night, a large wool fleece hung in open air, facing the breeze, acts like a sponge for atmospheric moisture. And what do Amish families in Lancaster County and Holmes County have in abundance? Sheep. The families that keep dairy and meat operations often have fleeces stored, fleeces that were too coarse for spinning, that would otherwise go unused. Here's how to do it. Take a large raw wool fleece. The bigger the better. If you do not have sheep yourself, raw fleeces are available from any local sheep operation for almost nothing, often free because coarse fleeces have almost no market value. Hang the fleece from a fence post, a tree branch, or a stretched rope at about chest height so it has full air exposure on all sides. Face it into the evening wind, same as the mesh frame. Leave it overnight. In the morning, take it down over a clean bucket or basin and wring it firmly from top to bottom, working it in sections like you are squeezing a wet towel. On a night with moderate humidity, a single large fleece will yield between half a liter and a full liter of water. On a humid night near a body of water, it can go higher. The water it produces is naturally filtered through lanolin, the waxy coating native to raw wool that has been recognized for its purifying properties for centuries. Run it through your activated charcoal bottle filter afterward if you want added confidence, but the raw product is already clean. The Amish families I have spent time with do not think of this as a survival trick. They think of it as using what is already there. The air is full of water, wool catches it, wring it out. That is the entire philosophy. They are not impressed by it any more than you are impressed by turning on a faucet. It is just how things work. The difference is that their system works when the faucet does not. What you have now is two systems you can run tonight: a $12 mesh frame that collects water while you sleep, and a wool fleece that does the same thing with $0 if you have access to sheep or a local farm supply. Either one of these, in the right conditions, covers your drinking water needs without a pipe, a pump, or a bill. Both of them together, in a decent climate, cover it so reliably that you stop thinking about water as something you need to pay for. People who have been gardening and homesteading for decades already know in their gut that the most valuable knowledge is the kind that has been tested on real land by real families under real conditions for a very long time. Not a gadget, not a product, knowledge. And the people who have been quietly holding on to that knowledge while the rest of the country ran water lines and built utility infrastructure are still right there in Holmes County and Lancaster County, filling troughs that no utility company has ever touched. Leave a comment and tell me this: do you have access to raw wool, or do you know a sheep operation near you? Because if you do, you can run the fleece method this weekend with nothing to buy and nothing to build. And if you cannot find raw wool, the $12 mesh setup is your Friday afternoon project. Hit subscribe, because the next system we are pulling out of Amish farming history costs even less than this one, and most people have been looking right at it their whole lives without ever seeing what it actually does.